Welcome to the Automaticist. So as you can see right here, we have a number of computers of varying ages, all running different operating systems. But what are operating systems, and what do they mean for you? So an operating system is the interface between your programs and the computer. So every computer is a little bit different, as I'm sure you're very well aware. And because of that, we need something to compile a standard program down to the specific instructions that your machine needs to operate. So an Intel processor is going to be slightly different from an AMD processor, which is going to be slightly different from this, which has an operating system because it's a computer. So an operating system is the piece of software, often a lot of smaller pieces of software, that tell the computer what to do based on instructions that it receives from software. So essentially what's going on is your software will be the same and it'll tell the operating system something. And then the operating system, which knows how to spin the disk, read keyboard inputs, move windows around, and stuff like that, will actually tell the computer what to do in a very step-by-step process. A good comparison for this is a corporate structure. So your software is like the CEO. Knows generally how to do a certain thing, and that's what the company is going for. And the hardware is sort of like the grunts, all the way down at the bottom of the pay scale. And they know how to do a very specific, very small part, and they're good enough at it to do what they need to do. The operating system would be sort of like your mid-level managers. They take instructions from the CEO and they pass those instructions on to the grunts. And so the whole system can just flow all together. So operating systems have been around pretty much since the beginning of computers. In the 40s and 50s, a lot of computers just had manual inputs where every single program had to be keyed in. And then this started to go away in the 60s, and eventually UNIX became very popular on the PDP-11. And that was one of the most significant early operating systems, and that's had a lot of descendants where they've taken code from Unix, various versions, and they've imported it and started to make their own operating systems. Today, we call operating systems that have Unix code in them Unix-based, and that includes macOS and Linux, with the only major exception being Windows in the modern consumer desktop space. So that's what's going on this computer. It's very easy to have a Linux distribution that is small in size and doesn't take up a lot of RAM. You can see this computer right here is running Manjaro Linux, which is based on Arch Linux, which is based on Linux as a whole, which is based on Unix, which is written in C, which is the programming language that this book explains. So, yeah, that's sort of a big hierarchy, but it's good to have that, and it's good to know that, like, if I wanted to, and if I had the programming skills, I could make my own Linux distribution right now. Now, if we're talking specifically macOS, I will have a video coming up over the history of macOS in a couple of days, so stick around for that. Just a little side note. Okay, back to the main content. About this computer, macOS 9.1. It's very different from a modern Mac. It is not compatible at all, and that's another thing. So, my analogy from earlier is a little bit flawed because not all of the software is exactly the same. There is a bit of compatibility that needs worked out, so for instance, we need to make sure that the program can run on the operating system. And then anything that that operating system can run on, that program can run on. So you might have, for example, Windows. the most popular operating system for desktop computers at least, and laptops, is essentially able to run on Intel and AMD processors because they're very similar. And because of that, you can run any Windows program on any computer that you would be able to buy or build, and even on a Mac if you install Windows. So it's essentially like that. Well, that's a quick look at operating systems and how it helps programs talk to the hardware. Thank you very much for watching this video all the way to the end. Don't forget to leave a like and comment and subscribe. Bye.